Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. I'm gonna try something new today. As you can see from the title of the video, I am going to be looking at and reading 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. I've seen some other people do this on YouTube. It's all for fun. I am always a firm believer that everyone reads books differently, everyone interprets things from books differently, everyone's allowed to like different books and dislike different books. I'm never gonna actually be like mad at someone for not liking a book that I like, you know what I mean? But honestly, sometimes like when I really love a book and then one of my friends reads it and they really don't like it, it does make me a little bit sad. Like not offended or not angry, but just like a little bit sad because it's like, oh, we didn't share the same happy reaction to it. I'm also, is this TMI? I just started my period today, and that means my hormones are raging and my emotions are a little higher than usual. So I might feel a little bit more aggressive or confrontational or just sad when I read these reviews today. We'll see how it goes. I don't really have a plan other than to just go on to Goodreads. Maybe I'll go through my like recently read list, find all like the 5-star books, and then I'll just do that. Okay, let's get started. What was my latest 5-star read? As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zoulfa Katouh. I honestly do not think I have the emotional capacity to read a 1-star review of this book. So I'm gonna skip this one. I can't do that. We're gonna skip that one. Oh my gosh, A Song to Drown Rivers. Will this have 1-star reviews? This book isn't even out yet, but I read an ARC for it and I have not shut up about it since reading the ARC because I loved this book so much. I think it's like my second favorite read of the year behind The Burning God. But let's see if anyone has anything bad to say about this book. There are only 2 1-star reviews on it. Not bad. Breezed through the first half, put it down. So I went back to read the last 3 chapters. Not gonna lie, the ending had me gagged. Same girl, same. Too bad I wasn't invested in any of these characters. Okay, that I cannot relate to. I was gagged at the end, but I was so fully invested in all the characters at this point. The main characters were dull and the side characters even duller. Really? The writing was clunky. Was it? See, I'm not a literary expert. I didn't take any additional English classes in school outside of like what you needed to graduate, like the mandatory English courses. So I would never call myself like a literary master. When I read books, I read them for the entertainment, the emotional, how the story impacts me. And I can recognize like different styles of writing, like more flowery writing versus more like literal writing, but I don't get too picky with like prose. You know what I mean? It's not something I think about unless it's like really getting in the way of the storytelling. So I don't know. The writing didn't feel clunky to me, but maybe technically it was. And the other 1-star review has spoilers, so I'm not gonna read that one. Okay, we're gonna do ACOWAR. ACOWAR, as you guys know, is my favorite book in the ACOTAR series, so I hope no one was too mean about this one because it's literally my favorite. 202. That's the number of times that the word mate in any of its hellish forms is used in this book. 202. That's very dramatic, Emma. I agree with that, I guess. Like, yes, the word mate is used a lot in this book. It's definitely a main theme in ACOTAR and in all of Sarah J. Maas books in general. She talks about mates. All of her books are like fated mate trope. So totally. But I eat it up. Like, I love the whole mate thing. So I agree with you, Emma. But for me, that is more of a 5-star thing. That's like a pro, not a con. Do I need to remind you to be civil? No, I don't. Good kids. Huh? You High Lords really do love your melodrama, don't you? Yeah, they do. That specific scene, I'm not gonna say exactly what the scene was because spoilers, but like if you know, you know, that scene was amazing. Like I loved it. I loved it for the drama. Too bloody long and too damn bloody. Definitely not worth the time. I love the length of this book. Some books, like honestly, a lot of books I feel like could be cut down because they're just way too long. But for like big fantasy books that I'm like really into the world and immersed, I always love that they're so long because that means I can spend more time with my favorite characters. Like as long as I like the book, the longer the better. You're right, it is a very long book though. And it is very bloody. It's about war. Definitely not worth the time. Worth my time, peachy girl. Let's do funny story. I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. 5-star, obviously, but let's see what the people who didn't quite like it thought. I don't want to talk about it, so I won't. I mean, that's so totally fair. That's so fair. The MC spends the entire book complaining about how she built her entire life around her ex-fiance and then proceeds to build her entire life around another man. Does she though? She doesn't really. I mean, like, without getting too spoilery, the new guy like lets her find herself again. Like, she starts having like friends of her own. She finds a life for herself. She finds like places and hobbies and things that like make her happy and comfortable outside of him. And he's like fully supportive of what she does, where like her ex was fully just like, no, why do you need to work? Why do you need to do anything? Because I'll just take care of you because I'm bloody rich. So I'm gonna have to disagree with that one. She did not proceed to build her life around another man. She did fall for another guy because it's a romance book, but the way she fell for the new guy was completely different because he respected her own life as its own thing, separate from him, without getting too spoilery. So yeah. Disagree. You know how food tastes bland when you forget to add salt to it? This is the book equivalent of that. I do know that feeling, but this book did not give me that feeling. Other books have though, so I totally got you. Ashley says, too millennial for me. Maybe that's why I liked the video, because I am a millennial. It could very well be why I love this book so much, so you might also be correct, Ashley. I am a millennial and I did love funny stories, so you caught me. Okay, let's move on to another book. Should we do The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna? No, you know what? I can't accept Kristen Hanna slander and I can't accept Nightingale slander, so we're gonna skip that one too. Let's do When the Moon Hatched. Because this book is so trendy and it's one of those like book talk books right now, I feel like those books are always the ones that get the funniest 1-star reviews, so let's do it. Wow, this one has a lot of spoilers, but it is so long. This person really hated this book, but was obviously very passionate about it because this is the longest review I've ever seen. I'm not gonna show you guys because again, this one has a lot of spoilers, but wow, okay. I have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived. Okay, tell me more. This was so far from anything even resembling good. I am awestruck that there was a period of time where it felt like I could not escape this book. That time is now. It's come back. We live in an age where any book that sneezes too close to a plot found in another is called out for copying, and I don't want to do that, but this is flat out Throne of Glass fan fiction. Okay, I half agree with this because even as I was reading this book and I was talking to you guys about it as I was reading it, I literally said something very similar. I do not think this was copy and paste Throne of Glass exactly. There were so many differences to Throne of Glass in terms of plot points that it's definitely not the same book, but the FMC, what's her name? Rave, is very, very similar to Selena in terms of personality, in terms of background, in terms of occupation. They are definitely cut from the same cloth. They are definitely similar characters, and I even said Rave is an annoying version of Selena, so I do agree with that. There are similarities in their journeys, but I have read other books that are more copy and paste. Was it something like mind-blowingly new for the romantasy genre? No. It definitely followed a very like similar structure as most romantasies do, but for me this was not copy-paste. For me, the most copy-paste book I have ever read is another book that a lot of people really loved, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, completely copy-paste of The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So I half agree with you. 576 pages of frantically flipping through a thesaurus to create this generic fantasy book. Yes, okay, so if you haven't read When the Moon Hatched, it does have a literal glossary at the start of the book. Like even before any of the story starts, there's like, I don't know how many pages. I want to say like 10 pages of glossary. You don't need to read it before the book, and I don't think you have to flip back to it. Whenever any of these terms are introduced in the story part of the book, these terms are explained like in the book. It's just if you want to like refer to them again, you can flip back to the glossary, or if you're a big nerd like me, you can read and study the glossary before you even dive into the book, which is what I did. Is it necessary? No, but I actually loved the experience. I loved the glossary at the start of the book. I'm also the type of person to memorize a fantasy map before starting the story, so it was just right up my alley. But I know that this also bugged a lot of people, or like threw a lot of people off the book, like turned them off. People don't want to feel like they're studying for like school or like an exam when they're reading for fun, but I don't know, I found it really fun, so that's just a difference in opinion. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Okay, let's do it. Not too many 1-star reviews actually. Everybody needed therapy. I mean, probably. I feel like in most of these rom-com type of stories, the characters always have some sort of trauma that they're holding on to in the past, and that is usually what makes up the bulk of like the issues and the humps that we have to get over throughout the journey. So probably most story characters need therapy, and probably most people in the real world, including myself and everyone around me, we all need therapy. So you're right. Do I think that's a reason to give a 1-star review? No. DNF 30%. Okay, that's my first red flag. I feel like if you DNF at like over 50%, like if you've read at least half the book and you DNF, fine, go for it, leave a review. But if you've only read 30% of a book, can you really fairly give it a rating? Is that a controversial opinion? Because like you haven't read the bulk of the book. Like you've only read probably 100 pages of it. Can you really give a star rating after only reading that much? I don't know. I don't think you can. I feel like if you DNF a book that early in it, maybe just DNF it and don't leave a rating. Does anyone agree with me on that? Or is that just like me? But anyways, insta-love, bland storyline, and no romance. Which is funny because yeah, this book is insta-love, and usually I'm not a fan of insta-love. Like I am a sucker for a good slow burn, a good enemies to lovers, a good journey like that that takes a long time. And this book definitely was insta-love. But what I liked about it is that the insta-love wasn't just like immediately, oh, we're just like head over heels in love with each other. It was obviously like a connection at first, like they were attracted to each other, and then the way they emotionally kept developing that throughout the book was done very well. And so I didn't mind the insta-love in this. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. In my opinion, this book is marketed so wrongly. Wrongly? Maybe. The cover and blip made it sound like this is a fun rom-com, but this is indeed more of a trauma dump book about family and mental health issues, with the romance between the two protagonists serving as a backdrop. You know what? Fine. Completely fine. I am the type of person who, like, if a romance book is just about the romance, I get so bored. I'm just like, why am I reading like 300 pages about two people not talking to each other? Tell me why. The romance books I tend to like are the books that have side characters, issues and trauma outside of the romance, and the two characters come together and their relationship, emotions and connection with each other, like they help support each other through their outside trauma. And that is exactly what Just for the Summer is. But you're totally right. Like if the book is marketed to you in a specific way and you get something that's not what you expected, it's very likely you're not going to enjoy that book. So I think you have a good point there. But again, it's just like a difference in preference. Like I really love this book, and I've read Abby Jimenez before, especially her other two books in this same series, and all her books are kind of like that. There's always like some sort of external trauma from the past that our main characters need to get over, and this was very similar to like all her other books, so I liked it. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Who had something bad to say about this book? DNF. Again, immediate red flag on this review. But at what point of the book did you DNF it? I don't know. You haven't told me, because WTF happened to the stakes. Low, verging on non-existent is what they were. There was zero tension, no angst, and there doesn't need to be war and peace, but a lack of conflict will have me falling asleep. I kept waiting for it to get better, kept waiting for my mind to stop wandering. Well, that didn't happen. Okay. Again, I feel like for most of these negative reviews, I always like partially agree with them. Like I can see what you're saying, because when I was reading 7-Year Slip, for the first half, I was like, what is everyone talking about this book? Like, what is the hype about? Like, it's fine, it's cute, it's whatever, but it just seems like a very predictable rom-com. Like, it didn't feel that special to me. But as I kept reading, like the second half of this book really, really surprises you with the emotional depth and the twists and the things that happen that you don't expect. Because while I was reading this book, I was literally like, I could predict the entire ending of this book, and I was so wrong. And I'm so glad I was so wrong, because the second half of this book was what made this book. So I don't know when Shelby DNF'd this book. I don't know at what point she stopped this book, but if she only read like up to the first half, totally agree. And one might argue that if you read the first half of the book and you're not enjoying it, it's not a good book. Like, you haven't enjoyed the experience so far. But for me, sometimes the buildup is worth it and sometimes it's not. Like, depending on how satisfying the ending is and how everything turns out, sometimes that little slog at the beginning of the book is worth the end and it makes up for it. But sometimes it's not. So yeah, half agree with that one. Girl was in a love triangle with the same man and it was boring as hell. I don't even know what to say about that one. Ooh, see, another one. DNF, boring and predictable, very slow and not well written. Alicia, I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing. I was thinking boring, predictable. I didn't think it was not well written. That's the one thing I don't agree with, but it was boring, predictable, and it was very slow. So like, maybe try again. Alicia, if you are, you know, on the off chance watching this video for whatever random reason, try it again and keep going. Maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you won't, but maybe you will. Oh my gosh, can I withstand Burning God slander? This is my favorite book of the year so far. Okay, I'm gonna look. The best way to describe the effect this book leaves on you is that of a roller coaster ride that then proceeds to crash spectacularly. Yes, there are some highs, some lows, some parts where you're upside down and not even sure if it's a high or a low. But overall, this tale swiftly careens into one big mess. Does it? I didn't think so. I love this book. I thought it was so well done. By the end, it got me into such an emotional mess. So there was a mess. You're right about the mess, but the mess was my heart because I was so invested. I mean, this book is about war, so it's gonna be messy. I don't know, Maya. I can't relate. Not enough Chagon. I don't know how to say that name correctly. It's a character. No, you know what? I wish there was more of him. You're right, but is that really a valid reason to give a book a 1-star review? I don't know, Sydney. Okay, I'm done with Burning God hate. I can't read anymore. I love the Burning God. Oh my gosh, let's do A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Such a good author. Okay, DNF at 40%. What's with all these people leaving reviews without even reading half the book? This is a pet peeve of mine that I have just discovered. Wow, I can't do it anymore. I'm out. To me, this was just a really bad version of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Okay, this must just be a difference in preference here because Mistborn, I know, is such a beloved book. I did not hate Mistborn. I did not dislike it. It was just maybe not my cup of tea. I think the story was really good in Mistborn, but I couldn't connect to the writing style. It wasn't for me. It felt very YA, and it irked me a little bit, but I loved the story. I really did love the story of Mistborn. I just couldn't get as invested in it. And it's funny that Kate has made a connection between A Darker Shade of Magic and Mistborn because I guess there are similarities like in terms of the characters. We have one character, like the younger girl who is a thief in A Darker Shade of Magic, it's Lila, and in Mistborn, it's Vin. And then we have like the mentor type character, which, funny story, in both books is named Kel. In Mistborn, he's Kelsier, but short form Kel, so everyone just calls him Kel throughout the book. And in A Darker Shade of Magic, his name is Kel. And while I was reading, I read A Darker Shade of Magic before Mistborn, so maybe it's one of those things, like the book you read first is the book that you will like better, because then the second one feels like kind of the same thing. But while I was reading Mistborn, again, this is a comment I made in a YouTube video, in a reading vlog, I was literally like, I can't get over every time I read the word Kel on a page, like the name, I just think of A Darker Shade of Magic Kel, and I couldn't get that differentiation out of my head. Like, I just kept thinking about this Kel, not that Kel. So it seems like maybe Kate had the same issue with me, but opposite, like flipped. So that's actually really funny. More like a blander shade of boring. Yes, I had to go there and say that. Clever. It takes the plot 100 pages to get someplace that could be promising, another 100 on top of that to reach some sort of vague action-like state, and then another 100 and spare change for more of a confrontation that was unevenly set up to begin with and to finally finally happen. And then once that long-awaited event occurs, one of the heroes actually goes and says this to one of the villains. I'm not gonna say it because spoilers. I didn't feel this way at all. I kind of felt this way about the second book, to be honest. It was like a very long build-up to the main event, which was like just at the end of the book. But I find with this series as a whole, and with V.E. Schwab in general, her writing reads so fast. Like, you could read 100 pages and it feels like 30. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but maybe it's not. But A Darker Shade of Magic in general, like, the chapters are so short, so it feels like you're flying through the book. And I feel like short chapters like keep authors concise. It's like, I really need to make my point in 2 or 3 pages to make this chapter short, to actually finish the point of this chapter, but like not have it to be like 20 pages long. And A Darker Shade of Magic definitely had short chapters, and I flew through it. So I did not feel that for this book. Disagree, but you are very clever, Hesper. Okay, I'm gonna read Fourth Wing 1-star reviews. I'm gonna do it. I feel like everyone reads a Fourth Wing 1-star review in these types of videos. If I had $1 million for every cliche in this book, of which there are a multitude, I'd still regret spending $20 on 498 pages of this mess. Girl, where are you getting a copy of Fourth Wing for $20? Like a hardcover? They're like $40 here in Canada. It's ridiculous. Yes, it's ridiculous. But I want to buy books where you are. There were probably a lot of cliches in this book, like very typical romantic-y tropes, but I devoured it anyway. So you're right, but I loved it. There's a valuable lesson to be learned here, and it's that when you see the entire Goodreads community read and 5-star the same book, you run as fast as you can in the other direction. It's kind of giving not like the other girls. On a serious note, I can see kind of what this person is trying to say. There are definitely books that go viral that get overhyped. It's for sure a thing. It happens all the time. I'm the type of person that, like, when a hype train starts, I want to be on the hype train because I want to be having fun and enjoying the same thing that everyone else is, so I can share the joy with everyone. There are definitely like viral books, like on Book Talk, on Goodreads, that I have not liked. It's not like I read every viral book and then like love every viral book just to jump on the hype train and like get on board. But yeah, I don't know, I can halfway see this point, but it's also giving not like the other girls. This review has been just iconic in terms of the Fourth Wing lore. Xaden wears skinny jeans. I feel like everyone's seen this Goodreads review if you've been on any part of social media. I just felt like I had to read it. I need y'all to start having some standards for the books you read. I do have standards for the books I read, but I really liked this book. This one's kind of confusing. Reread so I could give this book the 1-star it truly deserves. I mean, technically, couldn't you have just given it a 1-star after the first read? Maybe if you reread it, maybe it means you actually enjoyed it because you enjoyed it enough to read it again. So maybe it's actually more than a 1-star. Like, if you reread a book, maybe that just like merits a 2nd star. Should we do one more? Let's do one more. Let's do The Ballad of Never After, because this was my favorite book in this trilogy. Jay, didn't I read another review by Jay? Do Jay and I just have like very opposite preferences on books? The only good thing this book did was remind me to dye my hair pink again. Well, it did more for me, and I didn't even dye my hair pink. I hope the pink turned out very well for you. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Miss Garber, my least favorite book for the 2nd year running. Bravo. If you really hated the first book, why did you read the second book? Weird logic there, but okay. Before I get into this absolute mess, I'd like to ask who thought giving the book the initialism Bona was a good idea. Maybe I'm the most immature person in the bookish community, but I'm also an Australian and we shorten everything. So as soon as the title was announced, I've been calling it Bona, and while it's Bona in the name, it's not boner in nature, as everyone in my buddy read wanted to DNF it. I honestly did not even think of that. If Ava Jax has 1 million haters, then I am one of them. If they only have 10 haters, then I'm one of them. If they have only 1 hater, then that is me. If Ava Jax has no haters, then it means I am dead. If the world loves Ava Jax, then I am against the world part 2. Part 2? Anyways, not Jax being a little B and acting jealous as if he's not the one who made Ava, hoping for a Jax death trope in book 3. What did Jax ever do to you? I love Jax. Does he have his issues? Yes, absolutely yes. But he was like an emotionally tortured fate. It's not his fault. He was living a rough life. Okay, I think I have read enough hate for the day. I think I've hit my hate tolerance. We're gonna stop there. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was definitely different than anything else I've ever done. Usually I feel like my videos, you know, were a little more positive with things, but this was a fun experiment to try, so I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what your least favorite book that you've read recently is. We'll keep the hate flowing in the comment section for fun. Don't get mean. It's all for fun. It's just all books. It's made up. It's for fun. But yeah, leave your least favorite books in the comments. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.